Coming up on Arirang News, U.S. President Joe Biden will make a visit to Israel this week in a show of solidarity. Announced by his top diplomat, Biden's visit comes at a critical moment for Israel, with the aim of eliminating Hamas and easing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff assesses that North Korea appears to be linked to Hamas in several ways, including weapons trade and other military areas, adding that the North could use similar tactics when attacking the South. South Korea's export and import prices both climbed last month amid rising global oil prices stemming from the Israel-Hamas conflict. With the inflationary pressure affecting consumers, the authorities are going all out to ease oil as well as overall prices. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start in the Middle East with the continuing Israel-Hamas conflict. U.S. President Joe Biden is set to make a high-stakes trip on Wednesday to Israel to reaffirm U.S.'s solidarity. He also seeks to prevent Israel's war with Hamas from expanding throughout the region and look for ways to ease the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Our Song Yujin leads us off.
U.S. President Joe Biden is set to travel to Israel on Wednesday. That's according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken following his more than 7-hour-long meeting in Tel Aviv with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet.
He's coming here at a critical moment for Israel, for the region, and for the world. And he's coming here to do the following. First, the President will reaffirm the United States' solidarity with Israel and our ironclad commitment to its security.
Shortly after, White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby announced that Biden would also travel to Jordan to meet with King Abdullah II, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Biden's visit comes as fears are growing that the latest flare-up in the Israel-Hamas war could spill into other countries in the region. Tensions have been escalating in the Middle East, with Israel exchanging fire with Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah near its northern border with Lebanon. Iran has issued warnings against Israel's operations in Gaza.
Leaders of the resistance will not allow the Zionist regime to do whatever it wants in Gaza and then go after other resistance groups after it's done with Gaza. Therefore, any preemptive action is possible in the coming hours.
With world leaders such as UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressing the importance of avoiding further regional escalation, experts predict President Biden will also use this visit to avert the war's expansion. Addressing the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza is also on Biden's agenda, where civilians are facing severe shortages of water, electricity, and fuel.
The President will hear from Israel how it will conduct its operations in a way that minimizes civilian casualties and enables humanitarian assistance to flow to civilians in Gaza in a way that does not benefit Hamas.
Biden will also continue his efforts to secure the release of at least 199 hostages held by Hamas. The militant group on Monday released a video showing a 21-year-old Israeli hostage who appeared to be suffering from an arm injury. This marks the first time that Hamas has made public a video of a hostage held in Gaza. Song Yujin, Arirang News.
Weapons and tactics used by the Palestinian militant group Hamas appear to be similar to those pursued by North Korea. That's according to Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's looking into any possible links between the two. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
South Korea's military authorities have reason to believe that the weapons and tactics used by the Palestinian militant group Hamas are linked to North Korea. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, an official from the Joint Chiefs of Staff noted that Hamas has been spotted using a North Korean-produced F-7 rocket. South Korea's military officials said that the F-7 is the name North Korea uses when exporting its RPG-7 rockets overseas. On top of that, North Korea's 122mm multiple rocket launchers have recently been discovered near Israel. The military is also weighing the possibility that North Korea passed on its paragliding tactics to Hamas. Around 260 people lost their lives when Hamas militants paraglided down into a music festival in Israel. And a similar tactic was used by North Korea in 2016 when the regime's special forces demonstrated a surprise attack on a model blue house. The JCS also pointed out that Hamas's tactics involving mass rocket attacks and early morning attacks during a holiday are similar to what it would assess North Korea's tactics would be. This being said, the military says there is a high chance that North Korea would use these tactics to attack South Korea.
Our military is analyzing and evaluating the weapons and tactics used by Hamas. In addition, we are closely monitoring signs from North Korea using joint Seoul-Washington surveillance and reconnaissance assets. Our military maintains a thorough readiness posture against North Korean provocations.
The JCS also assesses that Israel's Iron Dome defense system was effective to some extent, given that 700 out of the 900 rockets fired toward the target area by Hamas were shot down. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
In Beijing, China is hosting a large international summit marking the 10th anniversary of its Belt and Road Initiative. Attention is on a face-to-face meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin amid the Israel-Hamas war and tensions in Northeast Asia. Our Choi Soo-young with more.
Starting Tuesday, China is hosting the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing, which will wrap up on Wednesday. The forum also marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, which has expanded China's leadership role on the global stage amid its rivalry with the U.S. The BRI aims to bolster economic cooperation along land and sea routes as a second Silk Road stretching from China to Central Asia and Europe. China has supported the building of infrastructure overseas, which has become a crucial platform for developing high-level cooperation among the countries involved. Representatives from 130 countries and 30 global organizations are expected to participate in the forum, with all eyes on President Xi and his Russian counterpart, Putin. This will mark their second bilateral meeting this year, and their unity against the U.S. is expected to be a central topic of their talks. Following China, Russia is increasing cooperation on the release of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan by banning imports of Japanese seafood. In addition, there is speculation about whether Xi and Putin will send a message about the war between Israel and Hamas. China is pushing for a mediator role and is talking with Russia's foreign minister to coordinate their stances on the war. Meanwhile, South Korean Oceans and Fisheries Minister Cho Seung-hwan will also be in Beijing to attend a separate forum discussing maritime cooperation. Cho will depart for Beijing on Wednesday and meet with Chinese officials during his visit. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
More reports suggest there have been weapons transfers from North Korea to Russia, as large cargo ships have reportedly been spotted carrying North Korean weapons, presumably ammunition, to Russia on multiple occasions for use in the war in Ukraine. Our Yi Si-hu explains.
According to the Washington Post on Monday, new satellite images show that Russian ships have collected cargo back and forth from North Korea to a Russian military port on multiple occasions over the past 2 months. 2 commercial ships involved previously had not run that particular route prior to August. The White House last week said that North Korea has shipped more than 1,000 containers of weapons to Russia in recent weeks.
We condemn the DPRK for providing Russia with this military equipment, which will be used to attack Ukrainian cities, kill Ukrainian civilians, and further Russia's illegitimate war.
An unnamed official from Seoul's defense ministry confirmed the transport of containers between North Korea and Russia. The official added that the volume of containers is equal to the tens of thousands of shells that Russia needs the most. Seoul's foreign ministry said that weapons exchange with North Korea is a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolution.
It is a serious violation of peace and stability on the Korean peninsula, and we urge for an immediate halt.
Meanwhile, Pyongyang announced that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is making an official visit on Wednesday and Thursday. Talks may involve Putin's return visit to Pyongyang following Kim's visit to Russia's Far East last month, where they discussed military matters. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
At the United Nations, North Korea has asserted yet again its intentions to advance its nuclear weapons ambitions, saying it faces threats from the U.S. Lee Seung-jae reports.
During the first committee of the United Nations General Assembly meeting on Monday, North Korea's Secretary for North Korea's permanent mission to the United Nations, Kim In-chul, said Pyongyang will not give up its nuclear weapons as it faces continuous threats from the United States. Kim said that the U.S. continues to deploy nuclear assets to the Korean peninsula, which are disguised with claims of being defensive in nature. He also added that the U.S. continues to conduct nuclear weapons tests despite its condemnation of North Korea's nuclear ambitions and has been accelerating a nuclear arms race. Both Seoul and Tokyo condemned Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions, calling for the North to give up its nuclear weapons and return to dialogue. Meanwhile, former U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Harry Harris, during a virtual seminar, called for the U.S. to keep strengthening its extended deterrence commitment to South Korea, as he stressed that North Korea's evolving military threats are far greater than before. Harris said that the North has been doubling down on its nuclear and missile programs under an aggressive nuclear policy stipulated in its constitution. However, the former ambassador said it would be a mistake to redeploy U.S. tactical nuclear arms to the Korean peninsula. Harris, who served from 2018 to 2021, also raised concerns about technological cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea's chief nuclear envoy Kim Gun has warned that North Korea and Russia will pay a price for any military cooperation. This was said on Tuesday during a meeting in Jakarta between top nuclear envoys of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. Referring to the White House's recent claim that Pyongyang has provided military equipment and ammunition to Moscow, Kim Gun said such actions are a clear violation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions. He added that the three countries will step up efforts to denuclearize the North. President Yoon Suk-yeol has pledged to make South Korea's defense industry a global leader in cutting-edge aerospace technology as he attended the opening event of the Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition. This includes stronger cooperation with other countries. Our Oh Soo-young explains.
South Korea will strengthen its defense networks around the world as it grows as a leading exporter of cutting-edge military and aerospace technology. That's according to President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday, speaking at the opening ceremony of the 14th Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition. Yoon said South Korea has transformed from an aid-dependent nation to a leading defense exporter, with ADEX 2023 showcasing the homegrown KF-21 fighter jet, the M-SAM air defense system, as well as tanks, rocket launchers, and other major export items. Describing the defense industry as a national strategic sector for both security and economy, the president vowed to foster a strong industrial ecosystem, particularly in artificial intelligence and digital technology, which are crucial for victory on future battlefields.
군 작전의 AI 디지털 기반을 가속화하고 미래 항공 모빌리티 기술 개발을 위한 정책적 지원을 아끼지 않을 것입니다.
By newly establishing a Korea Aerospace Administration, he said the government would bring together the public and private sectors to help domestic players lead the new space era, with the goal of becoming one of the world's top 5 space tech powers. He noted that his National Security Council established the body to promote defense exports earlier this year and aims to build up a cooperative system globally, sharing South Korea's evolution in the industry with friendly nations.
이제 방산협력은 단순히 무기의 수출을 넘어 장비와 부품 공급, 교육, 훈련, 공동의 연구 개발까지 협력 범위를 확장하고 있습니다.
This year's ADEX features 67 aircraft and 39 pieces of ground equipment based on Korean technology and weapon systems, along with equipment from the US military and the F-22 and FA-18G aircraft. Falling on the 70th anniversary of the Republic of Korea-US alliance this month, the president said the participation of the American military at this year's exhibition proves the overwhelming capacity of the bilateral alliance. South Korea last year hit a record in defense exports, some $17.3 billion, more than doubling the figure from 2021. The government has since designated the sector as one of the country's 12 core export engines, with the aim of ranking among the world's top 4 defense exporters by 2027. 오수영, Arirang News.
South Korea's foreign ministry has strongly protested Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's decision to send ritual offerings to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine. The ministry spokesperson says the South Korean government regrets Kishida's decision to provide ritual offerings and the visits by his cabinet members to the Yasukuni Shrine on Tuesday, which has the remains of Class A war criminals interred there. The foreign ministry called on Japan's leadership to responsibly face up to its wartime history and show genuine remorse for the country's past aggressive actions. Prime Minister Kishida has been sending ritual offerings since 2021, but has not visited the shrine in person. Russia is banning imports of fish and seafood from Japan amid concerns over the Fukushima radioactive wastewater. According to Russia's agricultural watchdog on Monday, the measure will remain in place as a precaution until comprehensive data confirms the safety of Japanese seafood. In response, Japan's Kyodo News says Tokyo's fishery ministry called for revocation of the ban on the same day, citing a lack of scientific basis. Last year, Japan exported 190 tons of seafood to Russia, which accounts for 0.03% of Japan's total seafood exports of 630,000 tons. Russia's ban follows China's complete ban of Japanese fish and seafood earlier in August. International credit rating agency Fitch Ratings has maintained South Korea's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating at the 4th highest AA- with a stable outlook. The agency cited the balancing of robust external finances, resilient macroeconomic performance, and a dynamic export sector against geopolitical risks and an aging population as reasons. As for its economic growth outlook for next year, the credit appraiser projects a 2.1% growth for Korea, an increase from this year's 1%, driven by positive export and investment momentum led by semiconductors. Fitch's rating for Korea has remained unchanged since September 2012. South Korea's export and import prices both climbed last month amid rising global oil prices stemming from the Israel-Hamas conflict. With the inflationary pressure affecting consumers, the authorities are going all out to ease oil as well as overall prices. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young explains what measures to expect.
South Korea's imports and export costs rose for the 3rd consecutive month in September, mainly due to a rise in global oil prices. According to the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, import costs jumped 2.9% month-on-month as reduced oil output pushed its price up. Export costs also increased 1.7% compared to the previous month, mainly led by higher petroleum product prices. The central bank said import and export costs in October could also be affected by the Israel-Hamas war, adding that it was keeping an eye on fluctuating oil prices. Lee Eun-hee, a professor of consumer studies at Inha University, said rising concerns over price fluctuations were putting a dent in consumers' wallets.
When global oil prices are volatile, the cost of all factory facilities increase, leading to fluctuations in the prices of goods. Dining prices can also be affected. For instance, as the operating costs of greenhouses rise, there is a significant possibility that the prices of vegetables cultivated within them will also increase.
During a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo urged relevant ministries to make efforts to ease overall prices, citing rising economic uncertainty amid the conflict in the Middle East. The same day, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-woo held a meeting with relevant ministers to discuss ways to do this.
Although fuel prices last week dropped for the first time in 14 weeks, inflationary uncertainty has risen again due to the Israel-Hamas war, which has caused significant fluctuations in global oil prices. To prevent price hikes from taking advantage of the increased volatility in oil prices, the government will strengthen on-site inspections. We will make a serious effort to limit rises in food prices.
Chu also reiterated the government's decision to extend the country's fuel tax cut, which was announced on Monday. Professor Yi said despite the concern over a fall in national tax revenue, the extension was crucial to ease the burden on people's daily consumption as well as that for businesses. 신하영, Arirang News.
Hydrogen is one of the hottest topics in green energy these days, but hydrogen cars face several challenges, including low durability and a shortage of charging stations. To tackle this, South Korea has successfully developed a technology whereby existing combustion engines will be able to run on hydrogen. Yoon-jin has the details.
Hydrogen cars are considered eco-friendly as they run on hydrogen fuel cells and don't emit carbon dioxide. However, current commercialized hydrogen cars face limitations, such as the lack of charging stations and the low durability of the hydrogen fuel cell system. To overcome such drawbacks, domestic researchers have succeeded in changing existing passenger cars that run on fossil fuels to run on hydrogen. Because the newly developed hydrogen engines use existing engines, it has greater advantages over the hydrogen fuel cells in terms of durability, performance, and safety. And using carbon-free hydrogen fuel means CO2 emissions can be reduced by 99% and fine dust by 90%, while the associated ultra-lean combustion process minimizes nitrogen oxide emissions.
One of the traits of the technology that we've developed is ultra-lean combustion. Using more air than normally needed for hydrogen combustion, the technology allows more stable combustion and thermal efficiency.
The research team also explained that this newly developed hydrogen engine could add competitiveness when applied to large heavy-duty trucks or electricity-generating engines.
The developed hydrogen engine converts the fossil fuels currently in use into carbon-free hydrogen fuel. This is significant in the context of the technology being immediate and economical as an automotive power source.
An obstacle that remains in the way of hydrogen engine cars from becoming commercialized more widely is the need for more hydrogen charging stations, as well as the production of hydrogen itself. Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
South Korean sports administrator Kim Jae-yeol has been elected as a member of the International Olympic Committee. His candidacy was ratified on Tuesday during the 141st IOC session in Mumbai. 8 new members were elected on the same day after being recommended as nominees by the IOC's executive board in early September to make a total of 107. Kim is now the 12th Korean person to join the committee and the 3rd who is currently an active member. He was also elected as the first non-European president of the International Skating Union last year since its foundation in 1892. Meanwhile, President Yoon congratulated Kim and said he wishes that he can play a big role in making a better world through sports. The South Korean movie starring actor Ma Dong-seok, The Roundup No Way Out, has been voted as the best Asian film and won the Focus Asia People's Choice Award at the Sitges International Fantastic Film Festival in Spain. The movie series started in 2017 with The Outlaws, and the first sequel, The Roundup, won the very same award last year, which goes to Asian-produced films. The third in the series, The Roundup No Way Out, was released in May. Just like others in the series, the film has been a box office hit at home too, with over 10 million people going to see it.
Temperature gaps will widen further tomorrow for most parts of the country. Seoul will see a difference of 11 degrees, but other parts of the country will see bigger fluctuation in daily temperatures. For Jiangsu and Jeollabuk-do province, morning conditions will be cold at 4 degrees, but highs will be jumping to 22 degrees Celsius. Make sure to dress in layers to regulate your body temperatures. A low-pressure system is forecast to enter the country this coming Thursday. Most parts of the country will be under rainy spells until Friday, and after the rain, colder spells will take over along with chilly winds. Conditions will be colder than the seasonal average. Sunny spells will dominate nationwide tomorrow. Seoul will be starting off at 10 degrees Celsius. Highs will be jumping significantly for most regions. Seoul will get up to 21 degrees, Gwangju 23, Gyeongju will be warm at 25 degrees. This weekend, clear skies are expected along with much colder temperatures. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news. Good night.